Hello and welcome to today's episode of my show through a trauma-informed lens, Soma-Psyche-Soul. I'm Aneta Itchak and I want to warmly welcome you here in this space. As always, I'm really grateful that you are taking time out of your busy schedule to listen or watch this show episode. Today I want to talk about something that we've been having great discussions about over the last couple of years within my certification Trauma-Informed Somatic Teacher and Coach for Women. And that is the topic of spiritual bypassing. It's something that I've been personally working with over the last 30 years. I keep circling back to that topic. I keep coming back to it and checking in with myself that I am not doing that, because I've seen so many people doing that. But before we go into the topic of today's podcast, I want to invite you very gently to check in with yourself. How are you in this moment? How are you in this moment on the level of your physical body, on the level of your energy? What is your breath, your energy, and your rhythm telling you about how you are in this moment? And then what's going on the emotional level? What are the emotions and feelings that are present for you here right now? And what's going on in your mind? What are the stories or thoughts that are going around in your mind? What is the commentary that is present here? And notice whether you feel connected to yourself, first of all, to your environment, your immediate environment, and to something greater than yourself. Something that I called simply life or source. You might have a different name for it. Taking all of those different levels of your experience and checking in also with your nervous system and what it tells you about the state that you are in right now in this moment. If there was one word that would really resonate with the wholeness of your experience, taking into account all of it, the Soma-Psyche-Soul, life, all of those different areas of your experience, bringing them into one. And then once you know that, ask yourself, what is it that you need? What is it that you need the most, knowing how you are right now? And it might be that you can meet that need in this moment. It might be as simple as having a glass of water, or sitting down for a moment and having a break, or slowing down, or having something to eat, or reaching out to somebody that you trust. Or it might be something that you can set intention for meeting that need later. Remembering that you do have choice. In any situation, you can choose how you are going to respond to it. So now that you've done this practice of arriving, reconnecting, meeting your needs, or setting the intention for meeting your needs, let me shift into the theme of today's show, and that is spiritual bypassing. So I want to be clear right from the beginning. This is not a criticism of spirituality. I'm sharing this conversation with you as a call to deepen your spirituality, to approach it not as a fluff or positivity or love and light, but in a somatic, embodied truth coming from presence and coming from fierce compassion. As a founder and creator of 160-hour Trauma-Informed Somatic Teacher and Coach for Women certification, and as somebody who's worked with thousands of clients over the last 25 years, initially in the social care with mental health and substance misuse, and later with child protection, and running my own business and training initially yoga teachers and now female practitioners in trauma-informed somatic approach, my work is rooted in understanding the nervous system, understanding physiology, creating nervous system safety, ethical way of being present, and spiritual wholeness. If you ever felt like you should just think positive or be more positive, move really quickly from grieving or experiencing the sense of loss, or reframing your pain into being filled with light, this episode is my warm invitation for you to slow down and come back to what's real in your body, in your emotions, and within your story, and in your inner wisdom. So let's start by naming what spiritual bypassing is and why it is important for us to understand it. Spiritual bypassing happens when we use spiritual ideas or practices to avoid or prematurely transcend our pain, our unmet needs, or speed up our growth. It's like putting a band-aid over a wound that actually needs tending to, that is still really too raw for us to put that band-aid on. The term spiritual bypassing was coined by psychologist John Wellwood in the 1980s, and he described it as sidestepping unfinished inner business. So how would it look in a daily life? Well, in a daily life, you might hear stuff like, just think positive or just be more positive, when actually you are experiencing grief or a lot of anger related to something that happened. And it's present in your body, it's present in your experience, it's here, it's real. So actually being told to just be more positive brings up more of that grief or more of that anger. It might show up as trying to forgive before any repair happens or any boundary is set. Forgiving somebody for what they've done without actually acknowledging the harm and pain and suffering caused by it. It might be used, and I see that so often, using meditation to escape body sensations, transcending our challenges, our problems from daily life through meditation and spiritual practices, through breath work. Oh, if only I just breathe and do enough of this breath work, it will release all the trauma. It doesn't. And it might also show up as naming and labeling something, our experience, as low vibe, high vibes only, and dismissing somebody's experience, somebody's struggle, somebody's anger, somebody's grief, or somebody's resistance or struggle with something. And I've been in groups and, quite few of them where even with the business, it's like only high vibes in here. If you're struggling with something, it's because you're not thinking positive enough. And that's painful. I know from my own experience and from, women that I work with, that's really painful. That's really hard experience to deal with. Some of the women that I've worked with told me about the experience of having a miscarriage or having a very, very challenging birth, and then being told you should be grateful because your child is safe and alive and you are alive and okay. And there is no acknowledgement. It can be this and that. Yes, I am grateful that my baby is alive and well, and I am alive and well, and this was a traumatic experience that's going to stay with me for the rest of my life, and it needs to be acknowledged and honored and processed in a safe way. So our society is not great at honoring this and that. Our society is based on black and white way of seeing things. It's either this or that, not this and that. So why do we do a kind of thing like spiritual bypassing? Bypassing can really make sense to our nervous system, because our nervous system and our brain often want a sense of relief when there is a lot of activation and when it feels overwhelming or too much or too painful. And so when we look at the spiritual traditions and practices that offer us a promise of transcendence, sense of oneness that looks safe because they feel calm and unthreatening, and they would very clearly bring us sense of relief. But often they come with a very high cost. There is a lot of cultural pressure and a lot of toxic positivity within our society, and especially in the online spaces. And I really want to be clear here. I am not talking from the point of judging if you are doing any of those things, like using meditation to disconnect from your body, or doing breathing practices to help you transcend trauma or pain or suffering. I completely understand it, and I've done it myself as well in the past. But what I know for sure is that it doesn't work, and that it only leads to further experience of disconnection and further experience of pain. Because when you stop doing this meditation or this breathing practice or this movement practice that promised you relief, long-term relief, and it doesn't happen, it's a very painful experience, and it further can throw you into experiencing anger or disappointment or depression or anxiety. So being mindful of that there is a very high price to pay for doing it in this kind of way. So let's get real here. How can it show up for your clients and for us as practitioners? So it can show up as not acknowledging the fullness of your experience, or the client not acknowledging the fullness of the experience. Doing practices like meditation and breath work to try to transcend the struggle, suffering, or trauma. It can show up as doing constant self-soothing before even being able to really drop into and tune in and experience what we are feeling. It can show up as jumping straight to affirmations and trying to silence the stories and the thoughts and the experiences within us. It can show as, for example, framing abuse as a soul contract and not putting necessary boundaries in place of saying no more to this kind of behavior. It can show up as trying not to rock the boat and not naming things as they are. Not wanting to show anger or experience anger because anger is challenging and it can feel threatening. But actually anger is a necessary response to somebody not honoring your boundaries or breaking your boundaries. It can show up as people-pleasing. It can show up as perfectionism. It can show up in so many different ways. For us as practitioners, it can show up as trying to do just mindset work without understanding or doing the nervous system work. It can show up as choosing being very calm rather than naming something that is happening and risking rupture. It can show up as using spiritual terms rather than admitting and taking responsibility for something not working or us being wrong or not right. And I'm not talking about it that it is abuse, it's just simply not acknowledging and honoring the truth of what's happening. And it can really make the healing and connection much harder. So what's the alternative? I want to introduce you to my approach, which is called the integrated Soma-Psyche-Soul coaching method. Within the integrated Soma-Psyche-Soul pathway, we start with step 1, which is called embrace. And this is the step that so often I see missing in many approaches out there. In this first step, we start with radical honesty. And we hold space for ourselves or for our client to arrive fully here. We allow to acknowledge and notice and honor what's here already. The physical sensations, the emotions that are present, the energy that we have, the stories that are repeated in our mind, the needs that we have. We name what's here with curiosity and with compassion. And that reconnects us with our power. It reconnects us with the sense of our agency, and it gives us choice. When we skip this first step, we so often feel disempowered because we are not fully aware and we don't fully acknowledge what's here already. And that means that we do not have a choice because it will still keep replaying within our being. And we focus on different aspects of our experience. We focus on Soma, we focus on Psyche, and we focus on Soul, all within the context of life itself. This model, the integrated Soma, Psyche, and Soul coaching method, is something that I created by bringing my experience over the last 30 years, the various trainings, the various approaches, my own therapy and process work and coaching, the spiritual practices that I've been doing. I brought it all together because all of those are important in the moment. Our society, our culture is built primarily on the power of the mind. And the mind is not everything. We live in this physical body, in a tangible body. We have our experiences recorded within us because our body is our biography. And very few of us actually bring all of those different aspects of ourselves into our daily life. I have this conversation with women on our training certification so often because for me, spirituality is a practical approach. Sacredness is in everything, not in just certain things. It's in everything. It's in me, it's in you, it's in my environment, it's in every person that I come across. And at the same time, where there are boundaries being crossed, when there is abuse, where there are things that need to be acknowledged, they need to be named and acknowledged, and they need to be dealt with. So how do you spot the spiritual bypassing? And for me, you can spot it with the way that somebody behaves, and what they say and how they present. So here are some examples. They know, obviously, this is not the whole list of them. There are so many more. But things like what's allowed here are high vibes only. Saying things like, just be more positive, just smile, focus on the positive stuff. Things like, you are not your body, you can transcend it, just focus on your practices. Everything is an illusion. All you need to do is forgive the other person. You don't need to acknowledge it before safety or repair happens. All you need to do is just do this breath work or this meditation to heal and release the trauma. And so there is a lot of stuff that I see around that really invites this kind of behavior. So I want to offer you a short somatic practice to connect with what's true for you. And so the practice, like the practice that I guided you through at the beginning of this episode, is the kind of practice that can really help you to stay grounded, stay present. It can help you to acknowledge and name what's going on for you. If you do this practice on a daily basis, it will really shift your relationship with yourself, with your inner experience, and the relationship with others and the world. When you notice that, for example, you feel angry with somebody breaching your boundaries and you acknowledge it and name it, this is what's happening for me, the next logical step is to address it, because then you know that your choice is, I either pretend it's not happening and I ignore it, and these are the consequences that come as a result of it, or I acknowledge it and name it and I will address it. And of course, there will be a different set of consequences that will come with it. But the reality is that you will feel so much more empowered because you are choosing for yourself what's the next right thing for you to do. So this is why within our somatic coaching approach, the integrated Soma-Psyche-Soul coaching method, we start with that step one, to embrace fully yourself or your client's experience. Help your client to really understand what's going on for them, to witness it, to acknowledge it, to name it, and to honor it fully and completely. Because this is one of the things that I hear so much from women, especially from women. I've heard it from men as well. Because this is one of the things that I hear from women so often, that their experience has not been validated, it has not been acknowledged, it has not been honored. They've been told that they are wrong for feeling what they're feeling. They've been told that they should move on and look on the bright side, or focus on the bright side, focus on the positives. And that creates a lot of unnecessary struggle, unnecessary suffering. So we never want to offer or prescribe transcendence as the first step. We always want to start with here and now. We always want to start with acknowledging what's present, validate what's present. We always want to start with creating more of a sense of stability, feeling grounded, feeling supported, feeling resourced. using titration to move forward at the pace that is right for the person. That validating emotions, experiences, and exploring the meaning of it for the person, rather than leaping to strategy or justification or forgiveness. We want to acknowledge mistakes and we want to respect boundaries. We want to come from a space that comes from co-regulation and creates co-regulation. And we want to really honor somebody's spirituality without creating spiritual bypassing. And so we want to come from the perspective of really bringing the light and shadow, working with light and shadow. We want to acknowledge the wholeness of our experience, and we want to honor it fully and completely, and create stability, create a space from which we can be resourced from within, through our grounding, through our regulation, through our rhythm and pacing, but also have access to resources around us. Because grief and loss is part of our human experience. Being in the body is part of our human experience. We are both. We are physical beings within our bodies, and we are spiritual beings within the energy, within the transcendence, within being the oneness with everything. But as humans, we need to take care of our humanness and our human experience, as well as cultivate and nourish our spiritual experience. And so I hope you found this conversation useful. I know that I keep coming back to it myself, and I keep having amazing conversations within our training certification with other female practitioners. So if this resonates for you, if you want to experience it, if you want to explore it more, I want to invite you to check out the information about our Trauma-Informed Somatic Teacher and Coach for Women Training Certification. And maybe come and join our community and spend the 9 months in our certification exploring the model, the integrated Soma-Psyche-Soul coaching method, but also your own understanding, your own experience of it. So for now, if this conversation has brought up some stuff for you, give yourself space and time to explore it. Explore it for yourself. See how it lands for you, what it means for you, how you can work with it yourself. And most of all, as always, take care of yourself. Look after yourself. Be kind and compassionate to yourself and others. And take care for now.